Here's a couple of very short clips from a video that came across my YouTube feed just this morning. Want you to check them out, and form an impression, and let me know what you think.
You're going to constantly miss out on the deeper meaning to skyrocket your social intelligence. Don't just listen to the sentence, listen past it. And is subtly hinting at the message of how to listen for layer 2. But who knows? You could get that assumption completely wrong. They're just listening to the wrong layer. So, in order to skyrocket your social intelligence and decode people so accurately, CIA and all that stuff I promised.
He's arguing that people communicate indirectly, often without fully understanding their own emotions, and that part of social intelligence is navigating that ambiguity. And I want to discuss what this means in real-life conversations and relationships, because this is the type of approach that's also a key strategy in therapy, which I'll get into today, as well as how it can affect men in relationships and even potentially devalue their masculinity. So let's get into more examples from that video, how it plays out in therapy for men and women, and what it means for guys who are dealing with these issues in relationships.
It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life.
Let me just say right out of the gate that my response to all of these is, I'm not here to guess what you're thinking and hope that I respond appropriately. Say it clearly so I don't have to guess. Use your big girl words and let's have a conversation. So there's about 7 or 8 instances or examples that he gives in the video. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll put a link for it. It's a rather short video and you can watch the entire thing if you like. But let's just have a look at just a few of these.
People don't just speak in sentences, they speak in layers. Layer 1 is what they say. Layer 2 is what they mean.
So at the outset, the video is telling you to read between the lines. And I'm telling you, that's not your job.
Layer 1 sentence could be, you never text me first. Below the iceberg, layer 2 deeper meaning could be, I feel unimportant, I need reassurance, I'm scared you don't care.
So his angle here is that you should interpret insecurity and need for reassurance. In my take, my response is, if you feel like I'm not showing up enough, just say that directly. Don't turn it into an accusation.
Surface layer 1 sentence could be, do whatever you want.
His angle here is that they feel unheard and they want you to choose them. And my response is, if you've got something to say, say it. I'm not going to guess what the meaning's behind that. And I'm not rewarding passive-aggressive communication.
Layer 1 sentence, look at the sunset. Layer 2, deeper meaning, share this moment with me.
And his angle here is that this is a bid for connection. My response is, I will engage normally, but I'm not going to establish a rule that everything needs decoding.
Let's take the example of someone saying to you, you've been busy lately. You know, maybe it's your partner or someone close to you. The bad response would be to instantly bite back and get defensive, you know, by saying, that's not true, we spent last weekend together.
So his interpretation here about, seems like you've been busy, is the interpretation is, I miss you. And in his system, it's guess what I'm thinking and then check to see if you're right about it. My response would be, busy how? How am I busy? What are you actually trying to say? Give me an example. Or if you want more time together, just get to the point and say that. Skip the guessing, go straight to clarity. So there's several more, but overall his framework is along the lines of you hear something, you sense it, you check to see if that's appropriate, and you give validation to it.
But who knows? You could get that assumption completely wrong.
My approach, and I think would work well for a lot of guys, is I don't read between the lines. I'm not here to guess what you're thinking or what your emotions are. Be direct with me. As I said, use your big girl words. So let's get into the therapy part of this. What he's teaching maps almost directly onto foundations within counseling skills that students learn in programs like counseling, social work, or clinical psychology. Right? This is what they're taught. In their training as students, they're explicitly taught to use and to express and to encourage skills like listening beyond literal words. Things like identifying underlying emotions and needs and reflecting that back, and then, as this guy says, checking for accuracy. That's exactly what he does. You hear something, you need to try to make sense of it, and then you check to see if in fact you are correct. So in training language, that becomes attending to what people are saying, reflecting on their feelings, reflecting on what it is they actually mean, what is it that they're actually saying, and then again, checking and clarifying, is this really what you're trying to say? Is this what you intended to say? And this is drilled hard in early coursework and practicum for those types of students before they begin their careers. Again, while they're getting their training. And I'll even go one step further here. Women tend, on average, to score higher on traits like emotional expressiveness, sensitivity to relationship and relational cues, indirect or soft communication. Well, meanwhile, men tend to lean more toward direct, task-oriented communication, lower emotional labeling in real time, and less tolerance for ambiguity in speech. Just like me. Get to the frickin' point. Tell me what you really think so I don't have to try to figure out and then be wrong, and then you tell me I'm stupid for being wrong. So the indirect communication is more feminine, as we can see, insofar as it's risk avoidant, conflict avoidant, and emotionally structured. Or at least they think it's conflict avoidant. But what it's going to do is piss a lot of guys off. Again, as I mentioned, when they're trying to guess what you mean, they guess incorrectly, and then the conflict starts. So the main point that I want to make here is that in this gentleman's video and in therapy, in the therapist's training, they are all advocating for you, the guys who are much more direct and prefer having direct conversations, adjusting and altering the way in which you communicate to meet the needs of women or feminized type communication. Whereas my approach would be, listen, you need to get that person to speak to you more directly and come at you so that we have less ambiguity, right? So it's become this feminized type way in which, again, men are expected to communicate in ways that appease women, even with all of its ambiguity. So for those of you who are in relationships, maybe you're in therapy, don't disclose any personal information, I am curious to hear what your experience has been in your therapist. Is it a man or a woman? But if you've had these types of communication type conversations in therapy or with a coach or someone else, I'm curious to know how they encouraged communication between you and a spouse or a girlfriend, or hell, maybe even your boss or your mother, whatever it might be. Did they in fact encourage more open expression and getting to the main issue of the statements? Or did they come and say, listen, we need to be more direct about what we're saying so that there is no guesswork? I'm very curious to hear what you all have to say. Have a great day. I'll see you soon.